Hey everyone, welcome to this Mercan Group webinar. We're live from scattered from around the world, Porto, Canada, Portugal, and other countries. So Mercan Group is pleased to join you wherever you're coming and connecting from. I would like to present today as our panelists, first and foremost, Jerry Morgan, president of Mercan Group. He'll be talking about Mercan Group around the world and some of the projects that currently they are in Portugal with the Portuguese Golden Visa. Also joining us today is Jordi Villadonva. Jordi is vice president of Mercan Group and president of Referência Arrojada Group here in Portugal. With us today will be lawyers from the EAS team. EAS is a very well-known lawyer firm that, of course, is capable of many golden visas, doing many golden visas throughout the years. And talking from EAS, it will be Patricia Pereira, lawyer and at EAS, and Mafalda Luiz, also lawyer, explaining about the future changes for the golden visa and also what is the steps for you to get a new golden visa in Portugal. So I'd like to give the word to Jerry and for him to explain about Mercan and the place in the world. And here you go, Jerry.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to our seminar. I'd just like to do a quick introduction about our company, the Mercan Group. We started in business in 1989, and since that time, we've always focused on high net worth individuals throughout the world, offering a variety of different programs for various needs. Of course, initially we focused on Canada, but we've moved where we were a major player in the United States, and 5 years ago we moved into Europe. So in terms of history on the US side, we've done over 35 different projects throughout the US under the EB5 program. And these have all been successful and operate throughout the United States. And there's over 1.5 billion of projects. In terms of Canada, we've been active throughout the years and we've done thousands of investors and brought over 40,000 people to Canada. What we found about 5 years ago is a lot of our customers were interested in Europe. So we moved into Portugal because, frankly speaking, Portugal has the best European program in the world in terms of flexibility, cost, and advantages that you achieve through the program. So we've quickly grown in Portugal where we become the premier developer under the Golden Visa program of Portugal.
Very good. I think, Jordi, you should be able to talk about Referência Arrojada, the RE group in Portugal.
Yes, thank you, Francisco. Thank you, Jerry. So yes, from Porto, I would like to share what has been our achievement until now and what our future plans as the major developer in the rehabilitation area. We currently have change, please, on the next slide. So we currently have 9 projects under development. So the 9 projects that we have under development are currently mainly in Porto. We only have one near Lisbon and another one near Porto. They're almost fully subscribed, and today actually Jerry will be sharing the 2 projects that we have available for Golden Visa investors. So we have currently a team that supports all these 9 projects. And the reason, as Jerry said, why did we choose Portugal? So basically, not only because of the Golden Visa features that later on our lawyers will be talking about, but there are a couple of things I really wanted to underline. The first one is the most welcoming country for expats. The second thing is, and this is quite unknown, but it's the 3rd most peaceful country in the world. Bear in mind that USA is only 121, and then the UK 41st position, Italy 31st, and even our country of origin, which is Canada, is on the 6th Also, is worth to note that Portugal has been named in 2019 as the leading destination at the World Gold Awards. But more than talking about why Portugal, I think we're all asking ourselves, why Portugal in the current context of the pandemic? So here I would like to really spend a bit of time sharing with you a couple of facts. The first one is Portugal was just named as the preferred destination after COVID-19 by Forbes magazine. And then the other thing that people have been wondering is, did the program take any slow pace during this COVID-19 period? And the answer is, not only the program has not slowed down, but in August and September, just 2 months ago, it registered the largest number of golden visa approvals. Of course, there are two factors that had an impact on that. The first one is that, as Jerry said, Portugal is the most popular program as a path to citizenship. And the second reason why this happened is because the Immigration Department, CEF, was very active indoors because obviously the counters were not open during the COVID period. But during that time, they really caught up all the files, or most of the files that were due for approval. That's why we had this record number of approvals in August and September. Now, everyone is wondering what's going to happen with the program going forward. And of course, my colleagues, especially the lawyers, will be talking more specifically on why this program is here to stay, and especially on the rehabilitation component, which is our focus. And I would like to share with you a couple of actions that we have taken in view of the recent news on potential changes. So we are in touch, we are in contact with ministries, different ministries, and as early as last week, we had direct contact with the Ministry of Economy, who had received the decree for potential changes, and we had assurance that these changes would not happen by the end of the year. And of course, my colleagues will be talking more about that. But also the other thing is that we are in direct contact. We had meetings with the municipality of Porto, and they expressed our support, or their support, to the rehabilitation category and to all the projects we have here. And last but not least, we're just sharing with you today's newspaper. Today's two major newspapers, the business newspaper, the Financial Times of Portugal, and then the New York Times of Portugal. So today, what they are saying is that the business associations, they are currently negotiating with the government to make sure that no changes will take place before 2022. And with that, I will let my colleagues of IAS, the legal independent firm, talk about the program and talk about the potential changes.
Thank you very much, Jordi. Yes, now that we have ES team here, I would like to let Patricia welcome in and let her talk about the requirements for the Portuguese Golden Visa, right, Patricia?
That's right. Thank you, Francisco. Good day, everyone. So to start, I would like to underline some requirements of the Golden Visa, the most important ones. And first of all, there are no age limit for the Portuguese Golden Visa program, so meaning that everyone can apply. Also, no management experience is needed, no education limit, no financial proofs. This is very particular requirements for the Portuguese program, very different from similar programs all around the world. So then we have the amount of the investment. Actually, in Portugal, you can have the Golden Visa for 350,000 euros in real estate investment, and also and especially with Mercan, because they are specialized, as Jordi mentioned, in the rehabilitation work criteria. they also have 280,000 euros projects to obtain the golden visa. Then we have 7 days of stay. This is a requirement in order to renew the card. So meaning that in order to renew the golden visa, you will have to spend 7 days per year in Portugal. So you can renew the golden visa. It's a minimum of 5 years of investment. We will talk after about the steps and timeline of the golden visa, but in order to move forward to get the nationality, you'll have to stay 5 years in the golden visa process. Another interesting thing about the Portuguese program, it's related with the documentation needed. Actually, in Portugal, there's very few documents needed in order to apply, meaning the passport, criminal record, of course, and then proof of familiar relationships in case you want to reunite family members like parents, children, and so on. So of course there are special cases that we can address real quick. For example, for children above 18, there are some special requirements, meaning they have to be studying, they have to be single, not married, and oh, I'm sorry, not working, studying, and no married, single. This is the special requirements for children above 18. We also have special requirements for parents above 65. In this case, the government says that no need to prove the economical dependence. So only the criminal record is required. So it's very, very good. Very few documents that we need to prepare. So it's a major plus on this program. So I would like to talk now about the steps and timeline, so you can have an idea how the process goes. So we start in what we call the year -1. So at this point, we will sign a contract, of course, and with saying contract, we will mention all documents that will be needed by the lawyers in order to proceed with the process. So a power of attorney in order to take care of everything you need, investors agreement in order to guarantee the investment you choose, the project, and so on. So all of these legal documents, it's the first thing that we need to do in order to start the process. After we have all these documents, we will obtain a Portuguese tax number for you. And when we have it, we will open a Portuguese bank account. As soon as this Portuguese bank account is open, we will require you to transfer the funds. And when we have the funds, we will proceed with a public deed. So the purchase of the real estate investment. After this, we will really start with the process in CEF, which is the immigration agency in Portugal. So we will submit online all the documents related with you, your passport, your criminal records, and everything you need more related with investment, the property, and the rehabilitation works, and yes, and then we'll have to wait 2-3 months in order to get this pre-approval. After we get this pre-approval, now we are ready to schedule the biometrics and your visit to Portugal. I know it's a question that's arise lately, whether or not if the biometrics can be done overseas, and the answer for now it's a no. For the biometrics, we'll need you to come to Portugal to do the biometrics, but only after this pre-approval part. Then we start. After the biometrics, we will have to wait between 6 to 8 months until you have the approval and pay for the cards, and the first card will be issued. During this year, it's the first card, it's been issued with validity of 2 years. And then after 2 years, you can renew the residence card for another 2 years. And in the year 4, the same, you can renew the card for another 2 years. Mafalda is going to talk next a little bit about some changes on this timeline that government are considering for the next year. But for now, this is the scenario. After 5 years, after you have the card, you can then choose between the permanent residency or the citizenship. So the requirements are very similar, but the principal one, it's the Portuguese test. You'll have to prove that you know basic Portuguese, and I know Mercan has an agreement with a Portuguese school specialized in teaching foreigners for this specific test. So it's something that Mercan also think about it. That's it.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Yeah, not just that, the fact that we are around here around 200 viewers today. So we're saving and we're starting already to see some questions. And of course, these questions are coming also in the end, where we'll have a special Q&A session. But in the meantime, I'd like to give the word to Mafalda so that she can speak a little bit about some of the changes that a lot of people have been talking about. Mafalda.
Thank you, Francisco. So today I'm speaking most about what COVID's coming to our residency program called the Golden Visa. And first of all, I would like to clarify that all of our legal entities, all of our public entities are still working. And as Mr. Jordi was mentioned, everything is being processed very fast because they are concentrating all the efforts to making the analysis of the applications. So at the moment, a lot of the services went online, and we are still working. Regarding movement of people, our borders are open, and we are receiving nationals, we are receiving people that has residency cards and family reunification, and also we are accepting people with visas for business purpose, and we can include investments under this scope. So investor that has visas can enter Portugal. We can mention, for example, that in the last few days we had investors coming from Emirates, from South Africa, from Egypt, from USA. So the point was for them to obtain the visa at their residency country, and then they could fly to Portugal with no problems. Taking to another point that a lot of people are asking, especially in the Q&A, it's they heard about some changes that they may be introduced to the Golden Visa. There was some buzz in the media that some changes may be affecting the Golden Visa, namely the restrictions to investment on real estate on the municipalities of Lisbon and Porto. However, we need to take here 3 possible scenarios, if this may be enforced or not, because nothing is yet defined. And the first point is like until 31st of December 2020, that is a possible scenario. And this is the most unlikely way to happen, a change until this date, because at the moment, we are discussing at the Parliament the budget law. And this is taking all of the government attention at the moment because it's very important. So this discussion will take place until first week of December, what gives only 10 or more or less business days for the government to dedicate themselves to other areas. So most probably the Golden Visa change will not take in force until 31st of December. So that means that in principle, if we dedicate all of our efforts to apply and submit application until that date, that will be very good. Also, a second scenario that you need to take in consideration is the day 1st of April of 2021, because it was, if you take the previous year, it was the date that the current budget law entered in force in Portugal. However, as Ms. Jordi spoke before, there is some rumors that this change will not be enforced until the end of the year. So it's something that we need to take in consideration in order to be more relaxed about this subject. The third scenario that we also need to consider, it's 31st of December 2021. And imagine if we have a new authorization for a change of the Golden Visa law. However, we already analyzed the budget law that is being discussed at the parliament, and no mention to the golden visa is in terms of investment is done on this. The only mention to the program is the change of, instead of having 3 cards during 5 years, only have 2, but it's something that is being discussed. Moving on, for the next point is also something that we need to take in consideration, because a lot of parties and a lot of players of the market, especially developers and real estate agents and everyone, is pressuring the government in order to take in consideration the importance of rehabilitation for the country. Not only in terms of landscape, because it's improving everything, but also for the social point, because according to European Union, that is even recognizing this matter, is for every 1 million invested in rehabilitation, 15 jobs are created. And this is a very good impact for the economy itself of the local level. Also, it's very important to mention a very big point here, that is in Mercan, you always have your investment fully returned, in terms that everything that you invest can also be back to you when you have the buyback.
Thank you, Mafalda. I think that was very comprehensive. Again, we'll leave some questions to the end, because here, of course, we talk about the presentation, and in the end, we'll take it a little bit towards your case, might be similar to other cases. And of course, we'll always leave our contacts in the end so that you have a free consultation with the IAS lawyers at a further longer time. Jerry, I believe you wanted to talk about what are the golden visas schemes that you have here for Portugal, and why we do ourselves with 350. Jerry, you're muted. Just to.
Thank you, Francisco. Portugal has a number of different options you can look at if you wanted to pursue the golden visa. Obviously, the most popular one over time has been a straight investment of over 500,000 euros into a purchase of a property. And this historically was the most preferred option, but the government made a change about 4.5 years ago where they created a category called rehabilitation. And rehabilitation can be at 350,000 euros in a major center such as Lisbon or Porto, or 280,000 in a rural or less urbanization location. So these new categories have proven very, very popular. And in fact, this is a category that we focus on ourselves. And we're at the point where 1 out of every 2 golden visas under the rehabilitation category will be one of our projects. So we really have become the main player in the rehabilitation. They do have several other smaller categories, one being the venture capital. This has not proven to be very popular. In fact, there's only been 28 golden visas in the last 5 years. And then they have other categories such as a 1 million euro capital transfer, or else the creation of 10 jobs. And really, if you're looking at a golden visa category, how to differentiate, if you're going there to live permanently, perhaps a 500 category could be a good option to consider. But if you're like most investors and you're more on a passive basis, then really the category that we specialize in terms of the 350,000 or the 280,000 may be more suitable for your conditions. And we'll talk more about our specific projects later. Thank you.
Yeah, Jerry, you have, I will give you the control.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Keep on with
So
the
now,
presentation.
So now I talk about the 2 projects that we'll be presenting today. The first project is a Renaissance Marriott Hotel located in Porto. And the second is an internationally branded hotel at 280,000 located in Evora. First, I will talk about the first hotel, which is the Lisbon Porto Hotel in Porto. Francisco, I don't have control.
Sorry, I was just.
Okay, so this is a picture of the hotel as it's going to look. You can see it's a Marriott hotel. It's going to be 163 rooms, and it's going to be a hotel and convention center. It's going to have all the facilities that will go with that, and including a rooftop hotel swimming pool. Great. So that was a video on the Merida project. And as you can see, it's going to be a premier property in Portugal, and perhaps the go-to place for meetings and special events. As you can see, this in the map that's attached here, you have a map of the historical center of Porto. So this project will be located in the heart of the historical district. So you'll have a premier location, and these are just some of the attractions that are nearby the hotel. So here's how the hotel will look at night. As I mentioned, this is going to be a Renaissance brand name, which is one of the premier brand names in the Marriott family. Now here's a site location. This is perhaps probably the biggest piece of land that is available in the heart of Porto at this point in time. And you'll look at the bottom corner, the actual hotel site does not cover much of the land. And what we've done is have a deal with the city where we'll donate half the land to the city, and they will contribute and build a park that will make this area very green and very, very picturesque location in Porto. Now, in terms of rooms, as I mentioned, there's going to be 163 rooms, of which 4 will be suites. There will be a rooftop swimming pool with a bar and terrace. Again, there will be meeting space, convention space, and it will be the largest meeting and convention facility in the city of Porto. So in terms of project costs, it's 160 investors in this project, and it's already over half sold out. The total cost will be 56 million, and each investor will invest 350,000 euros, plus there's a transfer tax of 12,000 euros. The project itself is exempt from the IMI construction tax. Now the project is appraised by an international appraisal company at 65 million. So the important thing here is that you know you're paying market value for your investment. And that's really critical when you participate in a project like this. Construction will be starting in the 4th quarter, which means in the next month, 1 to 2 months. And the hotel will open in the summer of 2022. Now, as part of your investment, you get 7 days per year free stay in the hotel. Now, in this investment, you receive a return on your investment of 3% per year, which works out to 10,500 euros. Now, the investment starts paying a return upon opening the hotel and is paid out each year. So assuming you keep the investment for 6 years, you're going to make 52,500 euros from your investment. Now, what's really important about this project is you have a guaranteed buyback. So at the point in time that you receive your citizenship approval or your passport, we guarantee to buy back your investment at the €350,000 mark. So the investment is €350,000 and you earn a return of 3% per year. Now, in terms of processing, as we talked about before, you're looking about 8 to 12 months for processing. Now, keep in mind, as you know, while nothing's completely 100% sure, we do know that if you believe that if you make your investment and your case is filed, you should be locked in for the golden visa process. And in fact, what's really important is all our investment agreements state very clearly, if you are not able to get your golden visa, we will buy back your investment. So you're really protected in terms of moving forward with an investment. The second project we have is the Evora Hotel. This is located in a very picturesque historical city located about 1 hour and 20 minutes from Lisbon. It's on the highway going to Madrid, which is 3 hours away. So it's a very strategic location, and it's a very historical city. As you can see in the picture, you have Roman ruins and aqueducts that are scattered throughout the city. You have the second oldest university in Portugal. You have some beautiful churches and other attractions. So it's quite popular as a tourist destination. And you know, we're very careful to do a 280,000. We don't want to do a 280,000 project that's not going to be successful. So there's not a lot of good locations in Portugal where you could have very high occupancy rates and be able to have a successful project where we can ensure that we can meet the guaranteed buyback commitment for that project. So as you can see, Evora itself is, you know, is a beautiful city. It connects to all the major cities. So the location itself is very good. And the occupancy rates are very good. So, you know, it's a really good location for a hotel. And what's unique about it, besides the tourism aspect, is you're right beside a very large wine and olive oil region. So it attracts a lot of tourists who go on tours of wineries and olive fields. And so from that point of view, it attracts a lot of visitors. Now, the hotel itself is right on the edge of the historical district. They have a historical wall there, and the hotel is right there. It's going to be a 130-room hotel, and it's going to be branded by one of the top 3 international franchisors. It's going to have a bar, a dining room, rooftop swimming pool, and meeting rooms. So it's going to be a full service hotel. The reception itself, this is a design of the reception. So it'll be a modern facility, and we'll have all the stuff you would have in a reception area, shops and small bar area and reception. In terms of hospitality, you're going to have a full service bar and a dining room in the hotel. On the roof, you're going to have a rooftop swimming pool with bar and food service. In addition, you're also going to have multifunctional meeting rooms. Now, this project is for 75 investors. The investment amount is €280,000 with an IMT cost of €9,000. So this one is the minimum amount that you can invest in terms to get a golden visa. This project is going to cost $21 million, and we have an appraisal by an international firm at $23 million. So again, you're paying full market value. You're getting a fair investment on an excellent project. The project will start construction this December and will open in the summer of 2022. Now, if you had to look at the 2 projects, both are excellent projects, excellent brand names, and in excellent locations. One requires an investment of 350,000 and the other one 280,000. Really, the only difference is Lapa in Porto offers a return of 3% per year. The one in Evora does not offer return simply because to honor our guaranteed buyback, which are real, we do not have the same cash flow that you would have in a city like Porto. So it's really, everybody has their own investment outlook, and what we try and do is give everybody something that meets their goals. So as I mentioned, we've been the first player to involve in the rehabilitation program. We started 4.5 years ago. We got the first golden visas that were given under the rehabilitation program. And we've grown to 1 out of every 2 investors under the rehabilitation program will participate in one of our projects. So you are dealing with the largest developer in this industry. Now, our first project is what's called Casa de Campanella. And this project is a 5-star hotel located on one of the oldest and most visited tourist streets in the heart of Porto. This hotel is completed and will be opening in March of next year. The second hotel is what's called the Cathedral. Again, a very strategically located hotel right beside the Cathedral, which is perhaps one of the largest tourist destinations in Porto. So again, you're right in the heart of the city, right in the heart of the tourist area. And this hotel is an 80-room hotel, and it will be one of the largest hotels in the heart of the city. And this just recently got approved as a Hilton hotel, Tapestry. So this will be a fantastic hotel, and it will be opening next summer. Our next hotel is what Fontina, and they have a famous walking street in Porto called Santa Catarina. This hotel is on that street. And again, it's also completed and will be opening in spring of next year. Then we've done something different. Instead of being on the historic side of the city, we moved across the river, just slowly across the river. And this hotel overlooks the city of Porto. So in terms of views, perhaps some of the best views that you can have of the historic district. And this hotel will open, and it's right beside what's called the City of Wine, which is a huge tourist attraction that just opened up. And you're near all the port wine locations. So it's really quite a unique location. Yet you're just a 5-minute walk back to the historical district. And this hotel will open at the end of next year. This one is a boutique hotel. It's located about 40 minutes from Porto. It's right on the river. It's a nice little hotel that will open in the spring of next year as well. It's almost complete construction now. And then we have what's called Bella Artes. This hotel is right in the cultural heart of Porto in the historical district. So this is where the center of the arts and cultural community of Porto is. And this hotel is under construction and will be opening next year as well. Then this project is located in what's called Montesina. So it's different. It's not on the river. It's on the Atlantic Ocean. So you're 1 block from the beach here. It's going to be a 4 Points by Sheraton. It's under construction and will be opening next summer. So in conclusion, what you can see from all our properties is they're great locations. And when you have a great location, you can never go wrong in the hospitality industry. You know, people will always search for the location as a tourist. So I think we have a portfolio of properties that are fantastic, great investments, and we invite everybody to be part of our family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. That was very extensive and elucidative. I think we're going to be now starting the Q&A question, where a lot of people have been doing a lot of questions, and I think this is the time that I'm going to try to have gather some. I've been gathering throughout the presentation some of the questions that have been popping up, and I'm going to probably distribute this by the panelists. I would start with Mafalda. Mafalda, I have a question for you, which is, I read it now. There was some talk that announced changes for the Golden Visa and the NHR, I think this is non-habitual resident, status could be postponed to better face the financial difficulties linked to the COVID-19. Is this really a possibility, Mafalda?
Thank you, Francisco. So, as I mentioned on the presentation, there's nothing approved yet. What we have now this year, it was because this is a matter that needs to be decided by the parliament. The parliament gave the authorization to the government to make some change to this policy. Until the present moment, no change were introduced or it was approved. However, as I mentioned before, and Mr. Jordi also mentioned before, we believe that in case of their changes will be entering in force, there will be all in 2021. Also, I need to also ensure the investors that are today seeing this webinar that from the point that you submit your application will be analyzed according to the law that was in force on that day. That means that if you submit it before the change of the law, it will be analyzed according to the law that was in force at that point.
Thank you very much, Mafalda. I think that's very elucidative. Okay, Jordi, this question is definitely for you because you and I have been in Porto and we've also been through a lockdown, but construction, you know, Jerry was talking about a lot of projects that we currently have in construction. What was this affected? So the question here is, how has COVID-19 pandemic affected these applications in the real estate market in Portugal?
Thank you, Francisco. Actually, yes. So we have been, and we are in Porto. So our experience as far as the construction is concerned, there's been no single day that any of our construction sites have stopped working. And of course, we've had an impact because in some of the construction sites, especially the ones that were about to complete or the ones that are about to complete, we had some supply chain issues, elevators that were coming from Germany or doors that were coming from Spain or from France. But luckily, we were able to complete the 3 properties that Jerry mentioned that are completed and keep our timeline for the other properties as well. A different matter is obviously, and that's why we mentioned that we have 3 properties where the construction is completed, but they will be open during the during spring next year. And the reason for that is we are working together with PwC, Pricewaterhouse, with Deloitte and other consultants specialized in the hospitality industry in Portugal. And we are having the feedback that by the end of the year, the hospitality industry will be picking up, especially coming from Europe, coming from Spain. And we expect by February, March, the hospitality industry picking up, attracting visitors from Asia and from North America. That's why our properties, we expect to have them in full operation as of spring. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jordi. One question just came up, and I think this is very interesting because, Patricia, maybe you can help here. How is this also COVID, just related to what Jordi was saying, how is this COVID impacted in terms of the process, in the timeline of the process? What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you, Francisco. So actually, I think Jerry and Jordi mentioned during their presentation. Actually, we noticed that during the first wave of the COVID, when was the worst part of it, the workers were working from home, and what we noticed was that the time response was reduced drastically. So in some cases to half of the time. So it doesn't really affect the process in Portugal. The only main thing that really was a problem was, of course, the presential appointments that were postponed. But right now, the services are working and counters are open. And we are, as Mafalda said, we are receiving clients already. So we think everything is returning to normal.
Thank you very much, Patricia. I think we're continuing some of these legal questions, and one that is certainly been popping up lately is if I become a golden visa holder and then work towards citizenship, will I be taxed on my worldwide income? Mafalda, can you help with this question, please?
Thank you, Francisco, for the question. So first of all, we need to split here two realities. We can have a civil residency, and in this case will be the golden visa, and then we can have a tax residency, and in this case we'll determine where you will be taxable. In Portugal, in principle, if you request the golden visa, you will only pay taxes according to the income that you will receive in Portugal. And this tax, if you don't have any special regime applicable, will be able to be taxed, depending on the amount, between 20 to up to 38%. However, if you decide to have a special regime that you have here in Portugal called non-habitual regime, you can have a flat rate of 20% on all your income that you receive in Portugal, and you have some specific things for the income that you receive abroad. However, one important matter needs to be done and mentioned here is the fact that once you become a resident, you don't need to change your residency to Portugal regarding tax matters. You can have your tax residency in another country.
Thank you very much, Mafalda. Jerry, I was looking here at the question that I think I'm going to throw it to you because it's quite challenging. Let's see what Tom was saying. So, who is buying back these guarantees? Who guarantees the buyback? And what legal guarantees are in place to ensure that the buyback is actually going forward?
Okay, the way the project is structured is there's a guaranteed buyback on both projects. And the way both projects are set up is they operate with no debt. So there's no debt on any of the projects. So all the revenue and profit that's accumulated over the years is put aside to the benefit of the investors. So the developer does not get any funds. All the funds are accumulated. So at the end of 6.5 years, when the first people start looking for their citizenship, there's 40 to 50% that's already accumulated for the benefit of the investors. Now, keep in mind, we have a wide range of investors, people from all over the world with different goals, different expectations. Some people want their citizenships immediately, and some people will wait 8, 10, 12 years. Some people don't even want citizenship. So we've structured it where there's up to 50% is no problem in the 6.5, 7 year. And as people will draw down on a longer period of time, and if finance is required, we have available financing for up to 50% to cover the balance of people. But that's assuming everybody requests at the same point in time. Obviously, we only will make our money by buying back the investors. So it's very structured. If we don't buy you back, we do not make any money. So it's set up in a way that's fair for everybody. So.
Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, I have another question which is a little bit related to what you're just talking about, and how, when you're talking about LAPA, the 3%, people are asking if the 3% starts, and when it starts. Is it when you sign off? When is it at the time of the deed? Is when you start owning the property, or when is it really starting?
Well, actually, yeah, the 3% interest starts upon opening of the property. So both these properties will open in the summer of 2022. So you start earning your interest from 2022, and it's paid out on an annualized basis. So if it takes, with the period from when you buy the property to when you get your citizenship approval, you're looking at a 6.5 year time frame. So you're looking at investing for 6.5 years, of which perhaps 1 year will not earn you interest. So you're looking at about 5 to 5.5 years of 3% rate of return.
Thank you, Jerry. I think that's very clear. Jordi, you know, we've been talking about the properties and Jerry's been talking about the returns. Is there any way where RA Group is sending reports to the investors? What do they get? And when they start owning the properties, they are 8 hours away from here, most of the cases. So what do investors receive when they buy the properties from RA?
Well, actually, Francisco, one of the good things about our properties and our developments is they have 7 days per year for free in the property. So the first access to how the property is doing is by them hopefully visiting once a year and spending 7 days per year in the property. Nevertheless, obviously, we will have yearly reports, so they'll have an overview of how the properties are doing.
Thank you very much, Jordi. Mafalda, this one I think it's for you because it relates completely to the presentation that you were doing. So in impacting again, I think we're receiving some questions on the impact of the Golden Visa, if there are any changes. Of course, right now we're just talking about ifs. If some changes come, whatever changes come, but what would this impact on the timeline or this Golden Visa issues? What would be the impact on the timeline?
Francisco, could you repeat the question because I could not.
Yes, of course, Mafalda, sorry for that. So the question is, the changes onto the Golden Visa program that are expected to come by the government, what is the impact right now on the timeline if someone applies now? So if I'm doing the application now, what are the chances of me not doing this year until the end of the year?
Okay, thank you for the question. So for the point of now, it's if you submit your application today, next week, it's okay. You can submit it, you'll be analyzed and you'll be checked according to what is in force. We cannot have perspectives for the future or tell you when something will change, but for what we understood and all the news that we are receiving, on all the information that we are receiving, no changes should be enforced during this year. So if you make an investment still during this year, you still have time to process and make the payments, the transfers, the public deed, and to be ready to enter your application this civil year in order to comply with all the criteria that are still in force.
Thank you very much, Mafalda. Patricia, one quick question for you because one of our viewers is asking, and I think this is a question that a lot of people have, is what happens if something happened to them, if their will, something, what happens to their investment if something were to happen to them?
Okay, thank you, Francisco, for your question. Okay, so first of all, I think that all the investors need to understand when they purchase the Mercan projects, they are purchasing real estate properties. So they own these properties. So even if something happens, of course, this is a real estate property that it belongs to them. So this is for sure. But regarding the security of the projects, I think Jordi can give you a better view on this because he's from Mercan and he can speak more about the project.
Yes. Yes, as a developer, and obviously, as a, if you are a real estate investor, your concern is what are the different scenarios, what is the worst case scenario. So, as Jerry mentioned, our properties, they have an appraisal, they have an independent appraisal, which means that your real estate investment, as opposed to if you would invest into a company or into a fund, that you would just be owning shares, and if the company or the fund goes under, you are just left with a piece of paper. in the case of our properties, you are left in the worst case scenario with a real estate asset which has a value, which and of course, especially in our properties, as Jerry has mentioned, we're always working with prime locations. That's why our appraisal is normally or usually is at least 15% over the value of the investment. So no matter which one of the two properties you invest in, whether it's Lapa or whether it's Évora, because of the prime locations, the appraisals we have are well over the size of the investment. Therefore, in the worst case scenario, you will still own a piece of a real estate asset.
Great, Jordi. Now that I have you online, actually, there's there's a question here that they ask, in addition to large investment, what are the other fees involved, if any? I think what Jerry, when he was doing his presentation, he was talking about some of the fees, general fees for a family of two. I think a lot of people are worried about the hidden fees, right? So we as an immigration company, what do you have to say to that in terms of fees related to each properties?
Yeah, thank you, Francisco, because that's a very important question. And Jerry mentioned when he showed the total cost, basically he referred to three different things. He referred to the real estate investment. And the real estate investment, whether it's 350,000 euros or 280,000 euros, that's it, just with the taxes, which is around 10,000 euros. So as far as the real estate investment, there's no additional costs. The second category is the golden visa costs, which means that in the application, as well as on the two renewals, you'll be paying for each member of the family a certain cost. And in the application is 5,000, and in the renewals is about 2,500. So those are the costs that we refer as the second category, which are the golden visa costs. And then, of course, there's the service fees or the legal fees, which is like any other legal services. So those are the three categories of costs that you have. And you have the emails here, we can customize per family what the cost for the golden visa will be. I would like also to add an additional thing. In our properties, those are the costs that that you will have. So what you see is what you get, as opposed to other type of investments where you will be buying an apartment or a house for investment. That's where you will have the hidden costs, because maybe you will have a tenant, and maybe you'll have the issues with the water, issues with the electricity, issues with the tenant. That's in our experience where you could have a lot of hidden costs. The other area where you might have also a lot of hidden costs are with investment funds. For instance, with investment funds, there's about 1.5 or 2% of the total investment amount as management fees, audit fees, and regulator fees. So that's why we like to say that what you see, it's what you get in terms of cost structure.
Thank you very much, Jordi. That's very good. Jerry, I think I'm going to ask you this question because we've seen from the presentation, we're looking at two properties, right? Lapa and Évora. And these properties, they fall into rehabilitation category, but is there any building there to be rehabilitated? What is it, rehabilitation area that is coming into place? What is the rehabilitation? How is it done here in these two properties?
That's a very good question. When you think rehabilitation, you think there's an old building that you're going to rehabilitate. And these particular locations are kind of interesting. There is some old buildings there which enable the project to be classified as a rehabilitation, but in fact we will take down, or we will take down the existing buildings. So it will be actually a new building, both locations, but both have been approved already as rehabilitation projects. So you get the benefit of the price being cheaper, but in fact it's a new building.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. Jordi, I'll come back to you because now some of the questions are related as well to the properties. And, can you just give a timeline of what's happening right now with Lapa and Évora? Because some investors, they're looking at answering this question. is my golden visa tied to the rehabilitation process? If the hotel isn't starting construction, can I start my golden visa right now?
Okay, so there are two very important things. One is, what is the timeline related to the golden visa? So the timeline related to the golden visa is that today, many investors, they have already in both projects done the purchase. Today, in both projects, many investors, they have already submitted the golden visa. So the fact that they are owners of that piece of real estate enables them to submit the golden visa application. So that's an ongoing process. The timeline has already started for investors in both properties. The second question is, at what stage are we in each one of the projects? So in the case of Lapa, actually, as Jerry mentioned, there's a very important component there, which is the fact that there's a large part of the property that we are donating to the municipality to build a park. And as we speak, the municipality is fast forwarding the agreement to get that piece of land because they want to get the park as soon as possible. That's one thing.
Jordi, I think you're cut it
The
off.
other thing is that also monitoring very closely that the construction starts as soon as possible. As Jerry mentioned, we have already redone the old buildings that were there. So we plan to start the construction very, very soon. So that's as far as Lapa is concerned. In terms of Évora, we were also with the municipality that is very, very strongly fast forwarding all the permitting and all the construction licenses that are required. As we speak, we are already with the tender to select the construction company. And as also Jerry mentioned, we have already signed a franchise with one of the largest hotel chain brands, which has done a due diligence on the project, which is monitoring also the project. We have also approved the interior design for the Évora project. And so we plan, as Jerry mentioned, to break ground around December timeframe.
Thank you very much, Jordi. Father, I think we're having some, you explained before in your presentation that it's right now it's possible to come. We've been having some investors reaching Portugal. I think the question is here, what people need to do at what stage? Do they need to come now to Portugal to start the golden visa? Is it possible to start the process from abroad? And when is it exactly needed to come for the first time into Portugal? And if that's the case, let's say for the biometrics, how is that done? How is that possible to be done?
Thank you for the question, Francisco. So the process works like this. The investor don't need to come to Portugal until the point that he needs to collect the biometrics. So he can sign all the necessary documents and do all the necessary due diligence from this country of residency. In Portugal, the lawyers will take care of all the necessary diligence to open a bank account in his name, to submit the application, and to follow up the application until he gets a pre-approval. Once the investor has a pre-approval, he will need to schedule a date for the biometrics. However, there is no deadline for this schedule. So he can schedule in 1 day, in 1 week, in 1 month, in 6 months. There's no deadline, especially now with COVID. However, also important to mention at this point is, like I said before, our borders are open, and as much as they receive the pre-approval, they can go to request a visa to enter Portugal and to come to do the biometrics. The borders are not closed at this moment because we are receiving investments from all over the globe to come for this matter.
Thank you very much, Mafalda. Jerry, I'm going to hit this question to you because 3%. 3% is something that Mercan guarantees. So the 3% return on Lapa, we're under COVID right now. So what's happening with this 3%? Do you still guarantee it? How can you guarantee this 3%?
Well, it's fixed, which means, and it has to be paid. So it's locked into the agreement that we sign with the investors. Now, what's kind of interesting, I think, about both of these projects is they're scheduled to open in the summer of 2022. So we're in the thick of COVID right now, and I think, you know, all the projections say that by the summer 2022, the travel industry and the tourism should be back to almost the same conditions as you had in 2019. So in terms of timing, these properties are both opening at a very, I think, a very strategic and good timing. So I think it's very promising for our investors in terms of the scheduling for both projects.
Thank you, Jerry. That's very good. You know, now that I also have here, so for this type of investment, I know that you went through that. I think some people arrived a little bit late, but you know, there's always for a lot of people, they have the risk of buying in off plan, right? So what's the risk that Mercan goes bankrupt and doesn't have enough funds to do the construction? I think this is a question that comes along a lot of times. And how does the Mercan fund these properties, and how safe is their investment?
Okay. Well, as I mentioned, we've been doing high net worth investment projects since 1989, probably over several billion dollars, euros in projects, and we've never had a project go bad. So we've been successfully operating for these years. In terms of the Portugal projects, what's good about these projects is we operate them with zero debt. So in terms of viability long-term, when you invest in one of these projects, no matter how bad it gets, if you have no debt in the real estate industry, you're on very strong footing. In terms of these two projects, Lapa, we've well oversold half. And so we're moving forward with the construction. There's no delays anticipated, and it's full steam ahead. There's sufficient capital in place to complete the project. The same thing goes with Evora. Again, all the land and sufficient funding is in place for them to be completed as well. So risks, well, I guess we've tried to mitigate the risks. First, we get great locations. Second, we get good brand names. 3, we get good management teams in place. And 4, we operate with no debt. So I think what we try and do, and that's why people invest with us, is we give you a safe investment opportunity, no hassles, and a reasonable way to feel comfortable that your money will be refunded. So I think people stay with us because of the way we operate in a safe environment.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Jordi, I think just to give a little bit of the size of Mercan, and people are asking how many Golden Visa clients have we? Right now, Jerry just a while back was showing the properties that you have. How many of these investors are at the moment with the Portuguese Golden Visa? And I think I'll just add to this because there's a track record from Mercan in the US that Jerry also talked about. What is the weight of Mercan in the world in these investment categories?
Okay. Yes. So I can talk about the Mercan, as Jerry mentioned, since 1989, operating with the Canadian program and then with EB5. So in terms of numbers for the Canadian program, there's been several thousand investors that Mercan has been processing in Canada. And in the case of the US, we have over 800 investors that they have successfully gone through the EB5 program. In the case of Portugal, as Jerry mentioned, 1 out of 2 investors in the rehabilitation category have invested in our properties. In terms of numbers, we have over 300 investors in our properties, most of them already with the Golden Visa. And as we mentioned also at the beginning of the presentation, what makes us different is the team behind. In the case of the legal team behind in IAS, as an independent Golden Visa consulting legal firm, probably we have assembled one of the 3 top teams in Portugal, which means that together the whole team is coming with experience of processing close to 1,000 golden visas. So those are the numbers that we can share with you, first as Mercan Group, then as a developer here in Portugal, and then as IAS, the independent legal team.
Well, those are amazing numbers for sure. Just wanted to let everyone know that you can have the contacts here, because we would like to go run this webinar and be with you for the rest of the evening, but we have some time conflictions here. So for any questions that you might have, please look at the emails that we have here. They will come back to you for sure later on. There's a lot of questions that keep popping up. I'm just trying to gather some of the most recent ones. Jordi, there's one question that rises, which is related to the shares. Because I don't think people want to understand really the concept of the buying of the property. Is it in a share of a company? What kind of, what do the investors get in return when they buy?
Yeah, Francisco, yeah, that's a very important component for two reasons. One, because in different programs in different parts of the world, and as I mentioned before, what you invest in it's a different.
Jordi?
It's a different structure, a different vehicle. Invest in real estate. And the way this is structured is through a title deed. What does a title deed mean? A title deed means that you have a purchase document that then is registered in the public registry. So you can access the public registry and you will see there your name as owner of that piece of the property. And this will stay there till actually you sell it. But you don't need to have a particular piece of document showing that you own a particular real estate asset. The important thing is that this has been registered in the public registry, and this purchase has been done by a notary. So that's in Europe, in continental Europe, that's the way you structure a real estate purchase.
Thank you, Jordi. I think that's very elucidative. Mafalda, can I get your attention here? Because I think there's one question that is also arising here, is will there will have any impact? So from the changes of the Golden Visa, does Evora fall into those changes? What are the impacts on the Evora's hotel with the changes that people are talking about that might or might not happen at all?
Thank you, Francisco. So regarding the changes are meant to properties located on the municipality of Lisbon and municipality of Porto. So Evora is not located on either one of these municipalities, so it's not something that should be affected by these changes.
Thank you very much. Well, everyone, it was a pleasure being with you all. There's still some questions coming in, but we would like to give some rest to these panelists that we've been talking here for the past hour. Everyone, we'll have this very soon available online, so you can recap and see from the start those things that you might have missed. And I'd like to thank everyone for your attention and your presence here. It's very important to us, and I hope to see you soon.